Hey, Fellowship Memphis. Brian McCurry here today. Glad you're checking us out. We are continuing our series that we're calling FM for the City, where we just want to take a few minutes and spotlight some of our Fellowship Memphis family who are invested missionally in different ways in their everyday lives around the city. And today we have a treat. We have Chris King and Amber Rose King, who are invested all the time in Memphis, but are currently in New York City. And we want to hear from them and kind of where they're invested missionally right now. Proverbs 11:11 says, "By the blessing of the upright, a city is exalted." And so we want to, like I said, shine a spotlight on the ways that Fellowship Memphians are making Memphis better for God's glory and God's fame, really through their everyday life. And again, we've got Chris and Amber Rose here. So, why don't you introduce yourselves? Tell us where you are at Fellowship. You attend East Memphis, right? Tell us a little bit of, just introduce yourself to those that are tuning in.
Okay.
So I'm Chris. I've been going to Fellowship, I think, since 2010. And we met through Fellowship people. So we've been married 7.5 years now. And so I work at the University of Memphis. I'm not good with elevator speeches, but I'm a research and data analyst in the sociology department. And what I do is I contract with nonprofits and do evaluation work for them. So what that means, just in practical terms, the last thing that I did was analyze the survey of like risky behaviors, health behaviors in a school in Indianola, Mississippi. And the next thing that I'm doing is a focus group about a teen pregnancy prevention program. So, virtually. And so that's going to be a challenge, but, along with saying that, like this stuff is hitting everybody everywhere. And
Sure.
So like Indianola, Mississippi and Greenwood, Mississippi and like Eastern Kentucky, like we saw yesterday or a couple of days ago, like everybody's out of school. Everybody's experiencing challenges right now. So like nobody's alone, which was, I think, one thing that hit me like on the drive up here. But that's my job, and that's briefly who I am.
That's awesome. Amber Rose?
I'm his wife, Amber Rose King. I am a newly actually licensed pediatric nurse practitioner, but I have been a nurse for 10 years. I work at La Bonheur Children's Medical Center in the emergency room as a nurse. I've been there the past 3 years, but I work per diem, which is how I'm here, like kind of as needed basically, which is how I'm able to come down here to New York because, knock on wood, and praise God, coronavirus has not affected our children the way it's affecting adults. Moreover, it hasn't affected, Tennessee, of course, the way it's affected New York. And so we have been low census, which is great in one way, because it means that our children aren't being affected, but it also means that when I'm PRN, no patients, no work. So we were afforded this opportunity to kind of come up here as well. So yeah, I'm a nurse. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I know a lot of people know you and have known you for a little while being around Fellowship, but I know there are also those that haven't met you. So thanks for doing that. And I mentioned you're in New York City. Your everyday life is Memphis. You're in New York City now. How did you hear about that opportunity, and what are you guys doing in New York?
Well, I'll start off with that one. So it's been a journey for us. Like I said, because we have been low census, we just kind of had, and he's been working from home, we had kind of like this kind of, it opened up. It's definitely been a God thing for us. So it started off really honestly with a text from a friend that was communicating just the compensation that travel nurses to New York were receiving. And I was like, that's interesting, and so kind of looked into it some more. And he talked to his boss to find out if it's, was it even a possibility? And so applied to an agency that does travel nursing all over the country. They got back with me really quickly because, again, New York has been, they've been just really hurting for, healthcare staff. signed up with them pretty quickly. But I guess the internal journey for us has been not only the initial opportunity opened up for course compensation. And then as we kept praying about it and talking to family, talking to people who were up there, talking to a friend of a friend who had, friends and family up there, it kind of turned into like more of a mission journey for us because we both do missions. And of course at, fellowship, y'all know, like we've been with the children's ministry, but then we also do international missions. We've been working with Point for the past, since 2014 in Honduras. And I've been working in Honduras, Philippines, and Haiti doing international missions. So it's kind of like just the core of who we are and who God has called us really to be. And so, yes, it opened up because of compensation, but I think the Lord allowed that door to open for us so we can be up here at this time for like kind of such a time as this. We can talk more about that, but go ahead.
Were you already looking into it before some of the pandemic stuff happened, or as a result of some of the recent events?
Yeah, currently, no. Like we had looked at it before. I looked at traveling in California, but it just it didn't work out. Like for one thing or another, it just was not going to work out. We've talked about it multiple times as a couple. Months away from each other just did not seem kind of healthy for our marriage, and so praise God, it's opened up. Him working from home, we can go together, and so so this time, no, I wasn't even looking. No.
Mm-hmm. I wasn't gonna let her come up here and deal with this by herself.
Yeah.
And so Chris, you're able to continue your work just remotely while you're in New York, right?
Mm-hmm. So I work out of an office that's off campus, and everything, like the work has not slowed down. Like a lot of the programs are kind of essential programs, but they're all doing things remotely, but things are still being done. And so there's still work for me. And for a while, there were like 3 of us going to an office that was built for like 20 or 30 people. So we were keeping a pretty good distance from each other, and still going to work. But I think around the time that the shelter in place or stay at home order came out, that's when we packed up.
Yeah,
took stuff
that's
home.
Awesome. Seize the opportunity. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, as soon as that happened and I was like, well, I'm going to be at home anyway, I think that week, maybe that day or the next day, I was just like, let me talk to my boss and see about us doing this, because it doesn't make sense for us just to sit around.
Sure.
She was even at the time working less than normal because nobody's going to the hospital right now.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to be exposed. So which is good. Yeah.
Which is what they should be doing.
But she was getting less shifts than normal, and we're also right now trying to adopt, and so that's expensive. We got a lot of stuff to get ready at home for that. So there were a lot of just so happened situations.
Sure.
It just so happened that I was able to work remotely. It just so happened that the contract came along, and we had to find a place. We brought our cats with us, so we had to find a place that would allow us to have cats, and
I have a friend who has a medical mission, and of course, supplies, PPEs has been a huge thing. Mm-hmm. So I ordered a lot of things, offline to come from China and eBay, but also another God thing kind of just tell us, all right, Lord, we're doing, this is what you're calling us to do at this time. She provided me with a N95 mask for every day available that I was going to be there. And so it's just, he was supplying and he was opening up, and it was just all right, he just made it really clear that this was what we're to do for right now,
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, tell us, we're in Memphis. We've kind of dialed in obviously to the news here and the happenings here. And we've seen the news about New York as being one of the critical places in the world, literally. What are some things that you are seeing and experiencing in New York? What day did you get there? You got there Friday?
Mm-hmm.
Saturday night.
Saturday night, yes. Since you've been there, what are some things that you've seen and experienced?
Yeah.
Okay.
So she hasn't been in the hospital yet.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
This is so today I was supposed to start.
Okay.
Actually today, but they pushed our start back for Thursday because there has been such an influx of nurses responding that they couldn't properly socially distance us in orientation if we all started Monday. So they're kind of staggering our start date. So I can't speak on the hospital just yet because
you can speak on a little bit. You've seen things and talked to people.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll start from what we've seen here so far.
Yeah.
So here, what we've seen is, again, neither of us have ever been to New York. However, we know that it's always extremely busy.
Yeah.
Streets are not busy here. They're barren, which is, again, it's a blessing. People are taking it seriously. No one's on the road except for you see people delivering food, people walking their dog or exercising. They have a purpose to be on the road. Literally 80%. I'm kind of,
sure.
My 80% of people have masks of some form, N95, cloth masks. Everyone is wearing a mask for the most part. On our travels down here, and we went to Walmart yesterday, they're counting, how many people are in the store. There's hand sanitizers everywhere. We picked up, don't judge us, food to go yesterday, and there was a huge industrial
supporting local businesses.
Yeah, we're supporting local businesses.
We were just hungry.
That's right.
And there was a huge hand sanitizer, so people are taking it seriously. What else have we seen?
On the drive up here, I took a 30-minute longer route that was much more scenic. So we went through the Bourbon Trail in Eastern Kentucky, which, everything's closed, of course. And and then we stayed in Charleston, West Virginia, Friday night. And then we drove up through West Virginia and then through Western Maryland and Pennsylvania and to here. And, all along the drive, every stop that we made, if we got food, if we went in a gas station, everybody was wearing masks. Everybody's taking it seriously, and
it's good.
Yeah. Yeah, when we go to get drive-through, or if we go to the store, they have instilled these glass panels in front of the cashiers.
Okay.
It's all over the country.
New stuff, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, Amber Rose, once you're able to get up to speed and trained and acclimated, what will you be doing?
So, it's slightly nebulous, but I'm contracted to work 4 days, 4 12-hour shifts per week at Mount Sinai Hospital in the emergency room. Now, I say it's nebulous because from multiple reports that we're receiving from nurses, from doctors, for the most part, in all of the hospitals, you're not seeing as much as, heart attacks, lacerations. Everyone has coronavirus. And while, of course, you still have heart attacks that occur there, you still have all kinds of, any emergency that occurs. When they come in, they're still testing positive for coronavirus. So you have hospitals filled, ICUs, regular med surge floors that are typically, where they're just, not as acute as ICU. They're having coronavirus patients that are intubated. I just was watching a video that was just posted on CNN an hour ago. Yeah, about 2 hours ago, I would say, from a doctor who works in the hospital I was working at. And she works in the emergency room. But in the emergency room, you're still seeing intubated patients. And so, I say it's nebulous because I'm contracted to work in the emergency room as a nurse for 4 12-hour shifts. More than likely, I'll be working more than that. And also, emergency room, and I'll probably be working half ICU patients, half patients walking and talking. But the way the virus is affecting patients, they have communicated, they come in walking and talking, and by the end of the day, the next day, they're intubated, unfortunately. because they're not yet. The reason being, for one thing, they're not checking patients who have mild symptoms, because about 10% of patients that they're seeing so far that have coronavirus are needing to be intubated. The others can kind of like ride it out at home, like they'll, Tylenol, palliate, with, fluids, all of that, but it's only about 10% that need to be brought to the hospital. So if you have mild symptoms, they're sending you home. So that's why it's so bad that they come in walking and talking, and by the end of the day or the next day, they're intubated because they have the more severe forms of the coronavirus. So that's what I'll be doing.
We've been praying for healthcare workers, and we'll certainly pray for you.
Thank you.
And it's inspiring and encouraging to see that you guys take an initiative to go and do that. It's awesome. When you think about kind of how you're praying for your time there, what are some things that you're personally praying for your time in New York?
I think for me, it's been multiple things. It's selfishly just been also, the first thing is I feel at peace about myself. I just don't want Chris to get sick or my cats to get, sick. So selfishly, that's the first thing, is just making sure that the Lord just protects us. We're covered with his blood, and that, definitely putting Psalms 91, that he just kind of covers us with his wings. And then the next thing is just definitely another kind of, I guess, straw to the reason that I wanted to come is so many of these patients who are being in the ICU, like they're not, family can't come, and that's kind of like in state, like without state, but countrywide, if you get into an intensive care unit, like we're really like locking down who can be seen in order to like stop, flatten the curve, so to speak. So there are so many patients that are dying without family, and so I guess the next part of the prayer is just for their hearts and that suffering, and for the Lord to kind of like just to cover them during that time, because like it's kind of like during the times when Florence Nightingale started to come up, and it was during the wars, and she just was with kind of the soldiers, and she just kind of had that heart of like no one should die alone. And it's kind of in that same vein, of just like feeling like no one should have to suffer this, and they're not. We have like they're healthcare workers, but without their family, if that makes any sense. So just praying for their hearts, of course, praying for protection of my city, praying that for our leaders, and that wisdom is continuing, and not, not to send people home. Send people back to work before it's time, for people to understand the reality, and just praying for wisdom and discernment and just grace in all of this. Kind of been just my prayer.
Mm-hmm.
So,
what about you?
Who's Florence Nightingale for the normies?
She one of our main nurses that started the nurse movement. Mm-hmm. She was one of our mothers of
in
nursing.
The Civil War,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks, Chris. We all needed that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're good. Context.
So,
the context.
Touche.
What are you praying, Chris? Kind of as you frame your time there.
For us, I think I definitely, we've been seeing like the whole process of this adoption, like, I've been, I think for her, like frustratingly, like jealous for like, if anybody was going to do the work to make that happen, I wanted it to be us more than anybody else, because like, I want us to be responsible for bringing the child here, and I don't want it to be on anybody else. And so that's made like finances kind of tight for the last couple of years. And so I think for me, for one thing, like the possibility of like having a little bit of a cushion for that is huge. And so that's definitely a prayer. I think obviously like our health, our mental health, like, she's besides like all the emotional like strain of being around sick and dying people all day, like she's gonna be tired and exhausted. And so I mean, I guess like something like a way to pray for us is just that we stay united, and like in the process of getting worn down, because we're both going to be working, like I'm not off, and so we're going to be tired. Like we don't have any kids with us or anything like that, so we're free in that way, but we'll still get tired and worn out. So and we don't have a ton of space, so we're going to be on top of each other.
Yeah,
everybody's dealing with that right now.
Y'all were saying y'all were in an Airbnb.
Yeah,
that's your backdrop. That's your Zoom backdrop today.
Right.
Yeah. So
we have the whole thing to ourselves, but it's not much.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and I think more than anything, like for me in this time, like he's just kind of, I would like hesitate to say this to like somebody who just got laid off from a job or like doesn't know where their next meal is going to come from right now. But like for me, like he's really been just like showing how he provides. And for, like I said, like with a lot of this process, like we've come up against times where we're like, I don't know where this is going to come from. And then it would happen. And so, this has kind of been like that in a lot of ways. And so, I mean, just teaching us to trust them, and like, we're obviously praying for like all the people here and the sickness and everything. But I think on my heart just as much, and this kind of just goes along with both of these things, I guess it's just jumbled, but I'm as worried about like the kids in Memphis right now as I am about any of the sick people here. Like we, she works at Le Bonheur, and so like we've heard about kids coming in
hungry.
Yeah. On April 9th. Like they haven't even got to the end of the month, even close to it.
Yeah.
And coming in and haven't had a meal for 24 hours.
Yeah.
So I think like as far as like what we're praying about, like we're definitely like, we want to be safe here, and like we want people to get well, and if it's their time to die, like to die with dignity, I think is what you were kind of getting at a second ago, and not to die alone and in pain or whatever. But like, I mean, another huge prayer is like, I mean, the unemployment stats right now are insane.
Yeah. And,
a lot of people are struggling who aren't even sick. So, we're definitely like praying for them too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's such a jumbled, issue, or so many concerns and so many things we could be praying for that are interconnected, in terms of health and education and unemployment. And, that's certainly true in Memphis. We're praying for those things. Well, thanks for taking a couple of minutes to share. We love y'all.
Yeah, thank you.
We
love
come
y'all too. Thank you so much.
Hang at the crib with y'all if we were up there, so you're gonna have some visitors.
Yeah, I know.
We'll be praying. Thanks for sharing those prayer requests, and maybe we can even check back in. How long do you project that you'll be there? How long is your contract, Amber Rose?
My contract is 8 weeks. So
okay.
Mm-hmm. So June 13th is my contracted last day.
Okay. Maybe we get an update between now and then, or let you guys write something up that we could send out. So,
for sure.
Well, let's keep these guys in your prayers, fellowship family. And we're so thankful you are there representing Memphis. And we'll be praying for y'all.
Thank you so much, Brian.
Yeah.
Yes.
We love y'all too.
Love y'all.
All right.
Bye.